lifestyle matters. As you heard from Allison, the different issues that our youth are facing today, I'll now help you try to understand them better to deal with the many concerns that you may have. Let us pray. Dear kind, most gracious Father, you brought us out here another one of your Sabbath holy days. I ask you to be with us now, Lord, that we have good understanding for what we are telling them, Lord. That through me, Lord, they may get a message, Lord, understanding of why us as youth, Lord, we face different problems and we deal with different things. Bless us now again, Lord. You may speak through me, Lord, as one of these among themselves. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. There are many misconceptions about teen depression. Yes, teens are tough, but most teens balance the requisite angst with good friendships, success in school, and outside activities. Development of a sense of self is very important among youths to conquer teen depression. Occasionally bad moods or acting out is to be expected, but depression is something different. Depression can destroy the very essence of teenagers' personality, causing an overwhelming sense of sadness, despair, or anger. Whether the incidence of teen depression is actually increasing or we're just becoming more aware of it, the fact is that depression strikes teenagers far more often than people think. And although depression is highly treatable, experts say 20% of teens receive help. Unlike adults who have the ability to seek their own, teenagers usually must rely on parents, teachers, and other caregivers, as yourselves, to recognize their suffering and get them the treatment they need. So if you have an adolescent in your life, it is important to learn about teen depression and what to do if you spot warning signs. Go back. Signs and symptoms of depression are sadness or hopelessness, irritability, anger, hostility, tearfulness or frequent crying, withdrawal from friends and family, loss of interest in activities, changing in eating and sleeping habits, resentlessness and agitation, feeling of worthlessness and guilt, lack of enthusiasm and motivation, fatigue or lack of energy, difficulty concentrating, and thoughts of death and suicide. Feelings of depression are caused by a chemical change that affects how the brain functions. That's why we must know the effects depression has on our mind. A normally functioning brain is a giant messaging system that controls everything from your heartbeat, the way you walk, your emotions, and the way you talk. The brain is made of billions of nerve cells called neurons. These neurons send and receive messages from the rest of your body using chemicals called neurotransmitters. These brain chemicals in varying amounts are responsible for our emotional state. Depression happens when these chemicals aren't delivered correctly between brain cells, disrupting communication. Think of a telephone. If one line is weak, how will you ever get the message? The good news is that there are many forms of treatment that help you cope with depression, including medication that can strengthen beat signals by raising the levels of certain neurotransmitters and by improving neurons' ability to process signals. This ensures that the brain's vital messages are delivered loud and clear. Some people may also say that depression feels like a black curtain of despair coming down on them. Many people feel like they have no energy or they can't focus. Others feel angry all the time for no apparent reason. The symptoms of depression can be different for each person, but they do disrupt your life no matter what. Many people who have had one episode of depression will have another. You may start feeling depression symptoms several weeks before you develop a major depressive disorder, so it's best to stop it while it's there at that moment. To help keep your depression from getting worse, learn to spot triggers or the return of symptoms early. Most people with depression don't seek help. Treatment could help most of them, but depression can affect so many different parts of your life that they don't even bother to think about it. Some people with depression try to harm themselves because they think that they will never feel better, but depression is a treatable illness. Try to inform yourself of the signs and symptoms I said earlier. As a caregiver for the youth, we must try to offer support. Let depressed teenagers know that you're there for them, fully and unconditionally. Hold back from asking a lot of questions, because teenagers don't like to feel patronized or crowded. but make it clear that you're ready and willing to provide whatever support they need. Be gentle but persistent. Don't give up if your adolescent shuts you out at first. Talking about depression can be very tough for teens. Be respectful of your child's comfort level while still emphasizing your concern and willingness to listen. Resist any urge to criticize or pass judgment. Once your teenager begins to talk, the important thing is that your child is communicating. Avoid offering unsolicited advice or ultimatums as well. Validate feelings. Don't try to talk teens out of their depression, even if their feelings or concerns appear silly or irrational to you. Simply acknowledge the pain and sadness they are feeling. If you don't, they will feel like you don't talk. Don't take their emotions seriously. Next, I will discuss overeating, which is a gradual start. The child may turn to food when upset. Over time, the child finds food soothes the feelings. Most people who become overeaters may never have learned healthy ways of dealing with unhappy situations. The disorder may develop when others make repeated comments about a person's health. It may develop after a traumatic event in their childhood or a restricted dieting. A person's home environment also can play a role. For example, if a person's parents are over-controlling or not present, that person may have had good role models for eating. People who overeat often have an extremely negative sense of self-worth. A need for perfection and a history of overweight or obesity may also be a cause. The more weight a person gains, the harder the person tries to diet. The more dieting the person does, the more they tend to overeat. People who eat too much often do so in private. They usually are reluctant to talk about their eating problems. If you or someone you know has these signs and behaviors of overeating, talk with your health care provider. Eating a little in public and a lot in private. Feelings about yourself based on weight. Depression after overeating. Feeling tormented by eating habits. And in the end, binge eating are many signs that you can notice in your youth they are overeaters. Overeating increases the risk of a number of health problems. Obesity is, of course, a logical consequence. Between 30 to 90% of obesity cases are thought to be associated with binge eating. Nutritional deficiencies are common in binge eating cases. Although large amounts of foods are consumed, overeating is usually based on high fats, sugary foods, and also stuff that lack in nutrients and vitamins. As noted, depression occurs in half of overeating disorders, though it is unclear whether depression is the cause or result of overeating. Overeating causes many disorders, as I stated, including diabetes, gallbladder disease, heart disease, high blood cholesterol, and high blood pressure, and certain cancers. Esophageal and gastric rupture is a direct consequence of overeating. The strain of overeating may rupture the esophageal or gastric lining, causing a medical emergency that requires prompt treatment. Ellen G. White states that a clogged stomach is a clogged brain. How to stop? Slow down. If you eat fast, you are making it way too easy to overeat. Slow down your pace, and you'll save yourself hundreds of calories a day. Try this trick. Chew your food and then swallow everything in your mouth before taking another bite. Have a desire bigger than the food. Set a goal to lose weight and constantly remind yourself of why that goal is important. This makes it harder for you to overeat because it is working against what you really want. Learn your full point. Many times we eat without paying attention to how full we feel. Start tuning into your hunger number. Rate your hunger on a scale of 0 to 10 and aim to stay in the mid-range during the day. Enough is enough.